Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, host and head bookologist here at the Get Literate podcast. I'm a book-loving, notebook-hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of bookology and leading literate lives. We talk all things books and reading and notebooks and writing, mixed in with mindful practices and creativity to create lives we love. You can expect regular weekly episodes focused on 3 books you need to know about on a bookish theme and how to bring those themes to life in our actual lives too. You can also expect author interviews, notebooking inspiration, and topics to help us grow through what we go through and take inspired action to make our lives better. So grab a notebook and your TBR list and let's get literate. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Get Literate podcast. I'm Stephanie, your host and bookologist, here with the monthly bonus episode. It is time to share all the literate love I have for June of 2024. But before we begin, right off the bat, I want to tell you about my Grow a Restorative Reading course. It starts literally right now. There is still time to get in. It is a self-paced journey with videos that you can watch at your own convenience in your own time. But there are also live coaching, connection, and studio visits scheduled throughout the summer. So if you want to make the most of your reading life this summer with a community of really wonderful people hoping to do the same, you'll find the links to my course in the show notes. I've got another thing going on too. On July 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I am doing a virtual book tasting. Now, my other podcast is called Kid Lit Love, and I have the opportunity to talk to a new author about their books every single week. To kick off a really robust summer reading season, I am offering a free book tasting for educators, librarians, and parents who want to boost their kidlit knowledge. It is completely free, and I bet it's unlike anything you've ever done because we're going to come together and I am going to share snippets of books that I think you'll love. But it's not just me sharing. The authors themselves have recorded videos for me to play for you. So you're going to get to learn about these books firsthand from them, take some fun notes on a book tasting menu, and head into the summer with a TBR stack that is tall, and then into the school year with a whole bunch of books that you can share with your students or with your children. And then my third announcement, and then I promise I will get on with it already. My third announcement is that I have a Substack. I've mentioned it in a couple of my last emails, and I've got to say I am pretty smitten with this platform. I love writing my weekly Literate Love emails every Friday and sending them to you. What I don't love, though, is that once they are sent, they are gone, never ever to be seen again. Substack fixes that. Substack allows me to send my weekly Literate Love emails and house them in a really beautiful platform where people can see those emails for months and months to come and interact with them and comment on them and form a community around them. So I'll be merging my email list there so that all of my old emails aren't lost in cyberspace and we can still benefit from them. But if you want to check it out early, you can go to alitlife.substack.com and sign up for free. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about my monthly Literate Love for June 2024. I've got to tell you, June was a month. There was a lot going on in my family for June. Number one, we are in upstate New York, so school is winding down. So I have my younger two who are finishing their high school years. One is graduating, which brings a whole host of wonderful things to do. One is finishing his junior year and getting ready for a senior year. And at the same time as they're ending, well, my summer teaching, where I teach multiple summer courses, that was ramping up. So a lot going on there that is wonderful. Now, there was also a car accident in my family, which is the not so wonderful part. everyone's okay, but it does add a lot of stress, a lot of extra, a lot of doctor's visits, a fairly easy surgery, a lot of paperwork, and just a lot of stress that came along with that in June. Let's add one more stressful thing is that for the very first time in the 10 years we have had our pool, when we finally opened it a little bit late this year, it was the most interesting color of green that I have ever seen. So we had a bit of work to do around the pool. And then of course, that's when the pool motor decides to stop working. So we're getting that fixed and hopefully we'll clean that up to get us off to a good summer start. And we added a garage sale to the mix too, but that I love because I love cleaning out. I love gathering, I love organizing, and I love getting rid of it to clear out more space. So much busyness in June, some stressful, some always wonderful. It was a lot. Now, my first reaction, and maybe your first reaction when things get hard, is to stop the reading and writing that we might do, right? It feels extra. It feels like we don't have time for it. It feels like we can't focus on it. I definitely found myself in that space more than once this month, but you have to fight it because when we give up those self-care routines, and for us, self-care is reading and writing, then it just makes everything else hard. We can still put 15 to 20 minutes of reading or writing into our day and manage the graduation, the car accidents, the pool, the garage sales, and all the things. So this is my reminder to you right at the start of the episode that you deserve this time, no matter how crazy things get. And even though summer is often considered a slower pace, it gets crazy when kids are home and events are happening and family entertainment is going on. It can get to be a lot. So here's your permission slip, not that you needed one, but if you wanted one, to keep building those reading and writing routines that make you feel really good. So let's talk about the reading that I did. In my Patreon community, our one-word theme of the month was fun. And so I was challenging myself to read as many books that could help me cultivate a spirit of fun in June as I could. And I was really glad that that was the month because it balanced all of those other challenging things. Hands down, my favorite book of the month was Sandwich by Catherine Newman. Brand spanking new, just came out at the end of June. And let me tell you, it was fantastic. It was exactly the book I needed when I needed it. Rocky, who is the main character, returns to her Cape Cod vacation home with her family every single year since her kids were little. Now, though, she's returning with adult children and one too many hot flashes, in her words. And in the book, we learn about what her present middle life looks like with her adult kids, while also flashing back to the past when her kids were little and when it seemed like you had all the time in the world, but you realize that it is all so fleeting. I was completely taken with this family. They were close, they were connected, they were funny, but I was also completely taken with how real and raw the story was. Families are complicated and they can be happy and they can have things underlying the surface that are hidden. And so this book just went straight to my heart. It reminded me why I picked it up. I want to be the kind of person who savors the season she's in, who enjoys and adores her family as much as Rocky does, whether that's in middle age or not. But I will say, I did get a lot more than that. I do not want to reveal Rocky's secrets, and I have a love-hate relationship with trigger warnings, but I do want to say that some of the content here will touch some readers to their very core. And depending on who you are, that may or may not be a good thing. So I don't want to reveal any more than that, but I will say if you have triggers around reproductive health, then I suggest you take a close look at the publisher's description and perhaps some of the reviews before you decide to pick this one up. But I will say that it was brilliant. It was a brilliant balance of light and heavy, of present and past, and of love and loss, all set on this beautiful, salty backdrop of the ocean, of hot sand, and just so, so, so many loving memories. I adored this book. I'm recommending it to everyone to read this summer. That's Sandwich by Catherine Newman. Now, up next is another book that I loved that is also brand new. It's actually coming out July 2nd. So you just have to wait, just a couple of days. This is titled The Townsend Family Recipe for Disaster by Shauna Robinson. Now, if you've been listening to me, you know I love a good family saga, and this book had it. It had everything. It had family, the family saga, friendship, food, but also secrets and really long-held grudges and microaggressions to deal with as well. It was set in July, which made it this really powerful summer read if you were to read it right now, and it just had all the things. It's about May, who is getting ready for her wedding to the man of her dreams and happens to be, as she says, white as mayonnaise. Now, while she's getting ready for that wedding, she is wishing so desperately that she could connect with her Black family that has been estranged from her for so long. When she discovers that her grandmother passes away, she makes the bold decision to attend the funeral and insert herself into the Townsend family's lives and attempt to bring the two worlds together. It is filled with macaroni and cheese, so much yummy macaroni and cheese. I definitely want to make this version of how it came to be. We've got alternating feelings of isolation and connection and how May grapples with that in the story. But there's also a lot of hope for a better tomorrow, no matter how dysfunctional or how broken our families might be. May literally gives this everything she has, and you can't help but feel that on this page. I loved this book. The Townsend Family Recipe for Disaster by Shauna Robinson, available in just a couple of days. Now let's switch gears and go to a middle grade book. I did not think that I would love a book as much as I loved The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise by Dan Gemmenhart. I loved that book. I recommended that book. And when I saw that there was a sequel, I was really hesitant to read that book because in my mind, nothing could top the first. But this book, Coyote Lost and Found, it topped the first. This book had me in tears from the very first chapter, and I will be honest, they kept coming the entire way through. I am a fairly emotional person. I tear up at Hallmark movies and really sappy commercials. And this first chapter just threw me for a loop. Incredibly powerful, and that's all I'm going to say. The entire book was emotional. It was very, very moving, and honestly, it's a book that you won't be able to forget. Rodeo and Coyote, the father and daughter team that we met in book 1, they return to the road in their made-over school bus, Jaeger, to take the road trip of their lives. And I can't tell you what the purpose and the mission of that road trip is without spoiling the entire book. But let me just say, it is the most important thing that they have done together yet. They hop into Jaeger. They end up grabbing new friends and old friends along the way, of course, in Rodeo and Coyote style. And they have a lot of adventures and ups and downs on their journey. This book is a lesson in love. It's a lesson in living, and it's a lesson in remembering too. This book had my heart. It has my heart, and I guarantee you, if you read it, you will not be able to forget it either. That's Coyote Lost and Found, a middle grade novel by Dan Gemmenhart. I hope I'm saying that name correctly. Okay, I have 2 more. See, June was a complicated month, but when you keep your reading routines, you still get reading done, and you feel really good about what you have to share at the end of the month. The next book that I loved, and I knew I would love it because I love Abby Waxman, who wrote The Garden of Small Beginnings that I've talked about on this podcast. This book is titled The Bookish Life of Nina Hill. This book embodies fun. This was a book on my bibliotherapy book calendar for my Patreon community. And honestly, I don't think I had as much fun reading a book in a long time. It was delightful. It was funny. It was completely relatable and also not completely relatable. And you'll end up finding out why if you read the book. But it had me smiling and laughing on pretty much every page. Nina is an introverted, bookish woman who often struggles with anxiety and has an extreme penchant for daily planning and enjoyable reading routines. It was like I found myself on the page, but a very funny page. So throughout the book, we learn about Nina's past. We are in her present, and based on the story, we end up hypothesizing about her future. Her love of reading, her job at the bookstore, her obsession with trivia and knowledge, they all felt so out of place in her family until she met the bigger family she never knew she had. I loved this book, but I really loved the format. Every chapter of this book starts with a page from Nina's planner. Every morning, she outlines her schedule, her to-do list, her goals, her meals, all of it. And I felt like I got such an in-depth look at her because I got to see her planner. And I also love knowing that someone else plans with that much intensity. As the story grows and as Nina's life gets more complex, maybe there's a little love interest coming in, we can see her planner changing too. And I just loved it. There were some fun descriptors and foreshadowing of the chapters right at the top that made you want to dive in. And it was just the perfect setup for a very fun reading experience. So that's The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman. I have one more for you. Well, actually, no, I have two more. Let me start with Viola Davis's Finding Me. This had been on my bookshelf for a while, and I wish I picked it up a lot sooner. This book had me in emotional pieces. I have so admired Viola Davis's acting career. The Help and Fences are two of my all-time favorite movies. But now, after reading this memoir, I admire her even more for the person she is, for what she has overcome, and how she lives her life off screen as well as on it. My goodness, she overcame an incredibly difficult childhood, and it was filled, unfortunately, with multiple kinds of abuse. Through her story, Viola shows us what it means to be resilient, what it means to overcome your circumstances, and most importantly, what it means to heal. And lots of parts of her story had my full attention, but I really was just so struck by her willingness and her ability to see her past from a different lens, to allow the people around her to change instead of harboring just full-on resentment, and how to rebuild relationships that I probably would have left behind. It was admirable. Here's my favorite line from the book. The purpose of life is to live it. This book is a beautiful testimony of how to do just that. Oh, so powerful. If you love memoirs, this one is going to get you. Viola Davis's Finding Me. Now I have the last book. This was a book that had been on my shelf for much longer than Viola Davis's memoir, and it's called Party Girl by Rachel Hollis. I love all things Rachel Hollis. I love her podcast. I love her nonfiction, personal development books. And I really loved this fiction book that she wrote way back before she even took off as a personal development mentor. This book was also a book that I would be considering to be great fun. So much fun. So it is a novel about a young girl who's trying to make it in Los Angeles as an event planner, which does take hints of Rachel's former life. I felt like I was right there with Landon. The writing was just so inviting, and I felt like I was there and I was watching her reach for her dreams. I was so smitten with the characters. I was so admiring the lifestyle of an event planner, not in all the aspects, but in a fun way. And all the challenges that just go with starting a new life, even with someone who is diving into it head first. I really couldn't put the book down. It was just a fun read that I wanted to get through. And lucky for me, there is book 2 and book 3 in the series as well. So if you just want a fun, light book to start off your summer reading season, then Party Girl by Rachel Hollis is one that I think you'll enjoy. So look at that. There were 6 books that I read in June that you can now take off of my read list and put it on your TBR stack. If you want more information about how I am structuring my summer reading season, head back to episode 126 if you haven't already. It's where I talk about my very different kind of summer reading challenge. I'm going to update on social media what my book selection for July is soon. So be sure to find me on Instagram or Facebook at Affinito Lit. Now let's move on to writing. The most important thing that I want to share and sing from the rooftops in this section of the podcast is that I started a new notebook in June. I love starting new notebooks. It's such a momentous occasion in my writing life when I get to put the last notebook away in the box of journals and bring out the new one. Now, if you haven't heard me talk about my morning page notebook, I love my moleskin notebook. It's moleskin, it is soft cover, and it fits into this notebook wrap that I have. But I was trying to decide which I liked better. Do I like finishing the last page better, or do I like starting a new one? I can't quite figure it out. I think I love them both, but there is something special about starting that first brand spanking new, fresh page in a notebook. So that means in June, I did a lot of morning page writing. I think I showed up to my notebook all but maybe 2 or 3 days of the month of June. When things get complicated in my life, I write. And so June had a lot of things to work through. And so I really filled a lot of morning pages, sometimes coming back in the evening to write a couple of more. So I would say June was primarily morning page therapeutic kind of writing. But I did have fun with a couple of prompts because fun is my one-word theme for the month after all. And so one prompt that really got a lot of writing out of me that I shared in an earlier email is this. I'm the kind of person who ... That's it. I just started the page with that and I filled in the blank. And then the next sentence started with, I'm the kind of person who ... And I did that over and over and over and over again until all of my morning pages were full. It's an interesting, different format, but I loved it. It just helped me to go to a place in my notebook that I haven't gone before. It helped me get more reflective and introspective, and a lot of things came up on the page that don't usually come up. So it was an unexpected but very pleasant prompt that I tried. I also loved using this protocol called Choose Again by Gabby Bernstein. Again, I talked about this in one of my previous emails. This is why they're going on Substack, so you could find it if you wanted to learn more but missed the email. And it basically said when you find yourself having a negative thought, a challenging thought, a thought you wish you didn't have, here's what you can do. Go to your notebook and write that thought down in your mind, word for word. And then rewrite it. Rewrite it in a more positive manner, in a more productive manner, or rewrite it so that it can help you get closer to the way you actually want to feel instead of the way that you do. It seems pretty simple, and it is, but it's shockingly helpful and powerful when you want to try to reframe a thought or an action or an event or something going on in your life. it helped me find the silver lining or the gratitude for the things I was not initially grateful for, and just helped me realize that I've got another tool for controlling the way I think. And then last, this was a fun one that just hit my inbox. I cannot remember where it came from, but it was part of someone's newsletter. And the question was this: would you want to date you? That was it. Would you want to date you? Would you want to date yourself in this moment as you currently are right now? And they just recommended that you spend some time writing about it. And if you liked what you wrote, kudos to you. And if you didn't, why not? And what could that prompt be a signal for that you want to make a change in your life? I had never considered that question before. And so I added it this month because why not? It was more fun. And that's what I was trying to cultivate in my one word theme for June. Okay, there was my reading. There was my writing. Here is my learning. Two big things this month. Number one, you've heard me talk about it, was Substack. I have so enjoyed this platform as a reader, connecting with the bloggers and the podcasters and the authors and all the people that I love and want to surround myself with. Remember, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. I like to think about surrounding myself with books and reading and blogs and notebooks and media. I like to think that has the same effect. So when I started investigating Substack more, I realized it seemed like the perfect platform for me to move to. Number one, it really values writing and creators and people sharing an authentic message. Two, it can save all of those emails so that people can get to them when they want them, and new people that find me can see my older work easily. And number three, it does offer connection and community. It's really easy to like, to comment, to share, to restack. And there even is a semi-social media feed in the notes section where you can interact with the people you like the most. It seems to have all the things I'm looking for. And so I've spent a lot of time in June investigating the platform, learning the platform, and now taking steps to migrate that platform. So stay tuned. In the meantime, you can go to alitlife.substack.com and sign up for free to see what my Substack has going on there so far. But here's the other big thing. I'm so excited about this. I can't believe I did it. I'm a little nervous to say it out loud, but you know recently that I signed up for a mindfulness certificate training, and I loved it. I learned so much. It helped me so much. It has brought a new level of learning to my restorative reading course. Just loved pushing myself in that direction. You also know, if you've been listening, that I struggle with chronic pain, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, whatever the label is. A lot of us have pain, and I am no exception. The one thing that has been helping me is that mindfulness and this gentle restorative yoga. It's helped me so much, and I still have a ways to go, that I decided to enroll in a 200-hour yoga teacher training. Can you believe it? A yoga teacher training. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be starting a yoga teacher training program and even considering the possibility of teaching. Now, for the record, I'm not really all that keen on teaching others yoga yet. I want to learn this for myself. I want to bring it into my restorative reading course. I want to do reading and writing meditations, and maybe I would feel more confident at the end of the program to teach people in real life, or perhaps on Zoom, or whatever capacity there is. But for now, I'm just really excited that I made that move, and I am pushing myself to learn so that I can feel better and help others and just explore this other aspect of my life. So there you have it. In 200 hours, yours truly will be a certified yoga teacher. Lastly, what have I been loving? I have 3 things that I would love to share, and links to these 3 things are in the show notes. Number 1 is a site that I love called Notebook therapy. Every month, they put a new printable and a new screensaver out to their email subscribers. They're always bookish, notebookish, planning related things, and they're beautiful. Beautiful. So this month they shared their July printables, and I love them. I just print them out, I put them up on my bulletin board, I tuck them into my notebook, and I just jot down things about the month on them. And so that might be something that brings a little bit more fun to your month too. The second thing that I loved, was Beth Kempton's latest post on Substack. Yes, I told you I love Substack. She posted a question that just has me thinking, and here it is. What would your life be like if you decided to act like your life was a sabbatical? So she went on a quick little writing sabbatical and thought, why do we only do this every once in a while? What if my whole life was a sabbatical? What would it look like? How would work be different? Family be different? Rest time be different? Enjoyment be different? It was a radical concept, I think, but one I've really enjoyed thinking about and writing about. And so it's definitely something I loved because I cannot get it off of my mind. So while you're on Substack subscribing to me, you can look in my recommended Substack section and you'll find a link to Beth Kempton there. And finally, the third thing that I've loved this month is a recipe. It is a gluten-free, dairy-free chickpea brownie. No, gluten-free, dairy-free chickpea chocolate chip blondie brownie. There, that was a mouthful, but I got it out. My daughter made it, and let me tell you, it's really, really good. And I don't think it's going to last much longer in the refrigerator. I'll put a link to where you can get that recipe if that kind of thing sounds good to you or not, but I promise it's better. It's better than it sounds. All right, well, there you have it. My monthly literate love for June 2024. What I've been reading, writing, learning, and loving. And now, of course, it is your turn. Tell me what you have been doing throughout the month of June, and tell me what resonated with you most from my literate love. You can find me at alitlife.com and click the link for the show notes for this episode and leave me a comment. You can find me on social media at your favorite social media platform at AfinitoLit. You can send me an email at stephanieafinito@gmail.com, or you can click that little audio button in your favorite podcast platform and send me a quick message right now. And could I ask you a favor? If you have not rated and reviewed this podcast yet, but you love it, I would love for you to take just 30 seconds to a minute, open up your phone, and leave a review. It's the number one way I'm learning for other people to find this podcast so we can keep sharing the literate love. Thank you so much for listening to this bonus episode of the Get Literate podcast, and I'll see you on Tuesday for our regularly scheduled session. Thanks for listening, everyone, and happy reading and writing. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. Plus, if you want more, you might like to join my Patreon community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, bibliotherapy book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking challenges, live events, giveaways, and much, much more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content too. You can learn more at getliterate.co. And one more thing, if you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish and notebookish community too. Thanks for listening.